Hey everyone, Mark from Coast to Country. Today's video, we've bought a silage grab off the marketplace, just the other side of Melbourne, which is miles away. Got it trucked over and I've just been working on it for the last couple of days and I thought I'd do a quick video, see where we're up to. Yeah, so I'll show you all about it. It's basically a pit silage grab made by Burger Industries over in Wangaratta originally. I think it's off an old dairy farm. It's been outside in the weather, so it's a bit knocked around. So I'm just getting all the tines out at the moment and cutting off the hitches because I want to put a Euro hitch on to suit our tractor at the farm. So, okay, so what I was trying to do is get these tines out. They were absolutely rock solid seized in there. They've been out in the weather for I don't know how many years. Basically, I soaked them in inox, got the MAP gas onto this N1 first, heated up the nut, expanded it, shrunk it a bit, trying to get it off. I haven't got a 3/4 inch rattle gun. I only got a 1/2 inch and a standard socket, which I know is a no-no. They can crack and shatter sometimes. But I've had that on there rattling away for ages and I wouldn't even look at it. So the next step was, so I just went into town, got an impact socket basically, 3/4 inch drive, 1 1/4 inch nut goes on there. And then we got a big ass bit of water pipe and stuck that on the end and got some serious leverage on them. And basically lent on that and they went off like a rifle when they went, they crack when they let go. So we finally got them all loose and then I got the impact driver on them, took them off a bit, soaked them again, and they've finally got to the stage where they're a tapered fit anyway, so we'll be able to get them out now, no worries. So what I want to do is just tidy this unit up, change the quick hitches over as well, so that's where we're at the moment. But yeah, we're going to use this as a to pick up sticks when we're doing bonfires and cleaning up trees and that, so we use it as a bit of a stick rake. We'll just have to go a bit careful on it that we don't bend something, but should be good. Alright, so the other fun job I've been doing is cutting these hitches off. Not even sure what they're called. They're, I don't know if they're JXs or something, I'm not sure what they're called, but the tractor out the farm's a John Deere and it's got a Euro hitch on it, so these had to come off. So I'm not sure what the story was. The guy I bought this off said, oh, it's in good working order and everything, but they've already had the gas axe and have had a crack at cutting these off. So basically you can see there, whoever had it before me has got the gas axe and cut through around the welds all the way through here. I've finished it off with the angle grinder and cut a couple of spots. I've cut that one and that one and it's fallen off. So yeah, so don't believe everything you hear in the marketplace, because if you had the tractor with the same hitches and put that on, you'd probably tear them off. So it's a bit of a job. I only had a 5-inch angle grinder and I've just cut through where the welds were. And we'll take those off. I've just still got to clean up this pad here. So it's been a couple of hours grinding at the moment, and I'll tidy this right up and then we'll weld a Euro hitch across there. Alright, so I've been grinding away at this, just got that nice and flat now. I'll tidy up this rust and we'll be able to weld a Euro hitch on. But to be honest, I'm sick of kneeling down grinding on a weird angle. So what I thought I'd do is I want to basically take these tines out. That's what I've been working on. I want to take the tines out so I can then take this top section off and get it in the shed and work on it. But then I can also flip this over on its back, flat, so I can grind it a lot easier, and also I can weld on the Euro hitch. We'll get the last couple of these off. Still quite tight, so we'll give them a bit of a clean up. Okay, that'll make that so much easier to grind on now. We can clean that plate up and I can weld on there too. I'll get the grinder and we'll clean up these old welds, and then we can start welding a new hitch on. I'll take these tines out while I'm at it as well. These ones have been soaking. They're still rock hard. I've cracked them with the breaker bar, but I'll get them out as well. Well, that's definitely a lot easier working on a horizontal surface more than vertical. So, alright, we'll do the other side and we'll go to the next bit. Okay, so I cleaned up these surfaces here. I'll tidy them up a bit better with a flat disc grinder later. So we've got most of the surface rust off. I'll hit that with a rust eater anyway. So we've got our Euro hitch here, which suits the tractor at the old man's place. So I've got to weld that on there. I've got to work out exactly where it's got to go yet. I'll probably put it about there somewhere. I'll have to work out the height. So obviously I'm going to need a bit of a gusset in here, like I'll cut a bit of this heavy plate. I might just put a triangle piece in here. That should be heaps strong enough. And then we'll weld that on. And that's pretty much it. These are pretty cool. Normally you can buy these lugs separately and weld them on yourself. You got to line them all up exactly, or you can buy just this 2 pairs of these. And then you just got to make sure the distance is right, or you can buy it this way, which is even better. It's got a bar between. Pretty hard to stuff that up when you weld that on. So idiot proof is why I bought it. Alright, I think we'll just take these hydraulics off. We'll take this top section off, and then I can put this in the shed and work on it properly without all these hoses in the road and stuff. That one's going to need some heat, I think. Bigger hammer. Being difficult, just get a impact driver in there, give it a smack. Alright, so this is why I want to take these pins out. They're out now, but that is so tight. That should be pivoting really easily there, so the grease is dried out. Right, so this is the other side. I can't even budge this one. Oh, there we go. That is stiff as anything. So those pins are pretty much seized. That's why they're coming out. We'll hopefully get them out, and then we'll re-grease them all, pack them. And same with this pivot hinge here. We'll get that out as well, but I've got to take the load off that first. And unfortunately, you've got to bash this pin from that side, and I can't do that with the hose in the road. So we'll just undo these hydraulic fittings. They look a bit iffy too, so hopefully we don't snap something in the process. I'll do that same the other side, and then we can bash this pin through. It's come off okay, except it's not pivoting because there's so much corrosion in there. I'll have to get onto here and spin it. Let's get a bucket to catch that. Still quite a bit of air in there. There was no fittings on this when I bought it, so that can have a fizz there for a bit. These fittings are pretty bad. Worst case scenario, I'll probably have to replace a few hoses, but it's not the end of the world. I'll just take this bottom hose off as well, so we can get it right out of the road. And so these hoses are in pretty bad nick, but it's not going to get much work, this grab, so if I get a few goes out of it a year, I'll be happy. If not, I'll replace them at some stage later. Right, so that's the hoses out of the road. Now we can get a crack at this pin here. These rams are so jammed on the cylinder. I've got them upright like that, and we can squirt the excess fluid straight into a bucket. Nice. Well, we'll just get these hoses out of the road. Actually pretty loose, they're coming apart really well. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Well, that'll come off there. Alright, that'll get those hoses out of the road. Just take these mounting nuts off, and then these will just slip straight back out. Okay, we've got all the hoses off now, drain the oil, and what we'll do now is, because this is so tight here, see that's just hanging, gravity that's solid as, that should be swinging freely. What I'll do is get a bit of gentle heat onto this, and what that can do sometimes is melt the old grease that's in there, and it'll help it a bit. And it's getting a bit late tonight, so what I'll do is I'll heat it up, give it a good dose of inox, and we'll worry about it in the morning, see if we can smash this pin out. Alright, so this has been an absolute mongrel to get out. I've bashed it with a sledgehammer. So now what I've done is I've got my hydraulic border pack with a big ram in here, and there's some extensions. Only thing I can find is a socket, which is a bit sketchy, I know. So I'm going to try and push there, crank the handle there, and I've got this one on the end here. So either one of these is going to hopefully push out when I put a bit of pressure on this ram. So hopefully that'll get them out. So all that's doing is bowing that bar in a big way. So the jack was useless, so we're just back to beating it with a big hammer and soaking it. Finally. Big heap of corrosion there, that's half the problem. I think that's where the grease is supposed to come out. Now for the other side. Finally. Alright, so after all that fun, belting these out, time to get these main centre pins out. I'm hoping these come out easier. I don't know why they would, but we'll take this bolt out and we'll bash these pins out, and then I can take it out in two halves, take the tines off, and then I can put it in the shed and work on it a bit better. Okay, we'll see if this moves at all. Well, it's tight, but it is moving, so that's good. Just keep spraying it, keep hitting it. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just belting them out as far as I can, as in I've belted that one flush, and then I hit them with a wire brush, give them a spray. And then just keep working on them, and when I hit them the other way, do the same, wire brush again. If you gain another, few millimetres, clean it up with a wire brush. And then keep working on them. That way seems to be the best way. These pins aren't as corroded, I don't think, but they're pretty heavy duty. Plus I have to take the weight off of this bar here in a minute, so there's not as much pressure on here. Right, so this one's nearly out, and so is the other side. These weren't quite as corroded, so we'll just belt these out. I've got it chopped up, so it shouldn't fall too far. So that one's a lot better. So these are greasable pins, but obviously the previous owner doesn't know what grease is, I don't think. Anyway, all good. Alrighty, so after some fun and games, we finally got those pins out. They were stuck. The hydraulic ones, as you can see, they were really jammed in there. yeah, press was no good, couldn't get enough leverage on it. Anyway, long story, bashed them out in the end. The main centre pin ones here, they weren't too bad. The hydraulic ones, they were a nightmare. Anyway, what I've done, I've soaked these and I have actually loosened these tines off as well. I'm going to take these off. These ones here, this is a silage grab that's designed to dig into a pit, grab a big chunk of silage and you feed up your stock with it. So these tines here are actually meant to be bent like that. They're called crank tines. So we've got crank tines all in the middle. They're all supposed to be, you know, nice and straight like that. And normally when you buy these, well, you can set them up however you like, but you can have a crank tine on the end, and then normally they have a straight tine in here. So this is actually supposed to be a straight tine, but obviously it's a bit bent. So whether I replace that, I'm not sure yet. This one down the end here, that's been pretty well hammered. That's supposed to be a straight tine as well, but that's bent. I may be able to put that in the press, I don't know. But at the end of the day, all this thing has to do is pretty much pick up sticks, like we're going to use it as a stick rake. So if I mount that bent, it actually lines up fairly well with that. So I may just leave that bent, or I'll fork out and buy a couple of cranks and stick on there. And then I've got the option to put these, if I straighten that, put it in here. But anyway, at the moment we're just going to get all these off so I can then put this on the bench inside, out of the weather, and I can start welding on the Euro hitch on the back of it. Alright, so I've lifted this onto the welding bench with a Kanga. So that's it there. So at least I can work on it a lot easier now. So what I've done, I've thrown the Euro hitch kit thing that we bought on here. So I reckon I'm going to have to put it around about there somewhere, which means there's a decent sized gap underneath here. So as luck would have it, in my heavy scrap pile, I don't do much super heavy duty work. I've got two of those. There's another one squirreled away in there. These are leftovers from when I built the bucket for the excavator when I went mining. So what I'll do, that's quite a heavy plate, so is that. I'll whack these in there like that. I don't even have to cut them, which is an absolute miracle. So I'll weld those in there, and then I'll weld this plate onto that, and happy days. That should be pretty solid. The thing's built pretty tough actually. When you look at the thickness of that, it's quite a heavy duty steel there. So it's 24, that's an inch thick. So I think it'll be strong enough. So yeah, I'll put those gussets in the corner, weld this plate on, and then we can start putting it all back together and cleaning it up. Probably get new pins, or I'll clean up the old ones, not sure yet. So I'll get this welded on. Alright, so what I've done is I've just tidied up this scrap bit of metal that we had. That's going to be a gusset. I've put a little 45 all the way around where I'm going to weld there. 45 there, that's going to go in like that. This is a tiny bit thinner than this plate, so I'll just lift it up so this surface is dead flat, and I'll fill up the back, and I'll preheat it with a bit of MAP gas, get a bit of moisture out of the steel, and we'll just tack that in first. And then I'll actually probably tack on the Euro plate, take it out to the farm, quickly hook the tractor on, make sure I've got that in the exact position where I need it, and then I'll come back and weld it properly. Right, so I've just welded that gusset in. I'll now grind that flat so the Euro bracket sits dead flat across here. So ground back where I needed to. This is all flush now across here. So when we stick our Euro hitch on, back about there somewhere, about there, I'll square it all up. So that'll then sit nice and flush along here, and I can weld that all dead flat onto here. Alright, so we've tacked our hitch on. We'll just head out now and see if it fits, see if the height up and down is where we want it. And if it is, I'll bring it back and weld it properly, and I'll weld the back of this properly as well. Right, so I went out to the farm, checked that it fitted on the tractor okay. It was pretty much the same as the standard loader we've got out there. It was about 30mm shorter to the ground, so that's even better. So what I've done then is just welded the Euro hitch on properly. And we're just going to flip this over now with the Kanga, and I'll weld the other side. Right, so flipped it over. All I've got to do now is weld in this gusset properly and the back of the Euro and that's pretty much it for welding. That ain't coming off. We'll do some major damage somewhere else if that breaks. So next job is to basically give it a good clean up, and we'll give it a bit of a Dulux renovation. Basically I've knocked a bit of the loose paint off and a few bad bits of rust with the wire brush on a angle grinder. So I'm just not too stressed about the paint job on this, because it's going to be a stick rake and it's going to be pushing up bonfires and all sorts of things, so it's going to get knocked around a little bit. So anyway, I've cleaned up most of it. I've then drowned it in Prepsol, cleaned it up in Prepsol, cleaned up gets all the oil and everything off. Going to use some of this Rust-Oleum stuff again. John Deere green. What other colour is there? Yes, I'm going to use that, and that's actually pretty good rust kill paint anyway, so not too worried about etch primer and all that stuff. So anyway, we'll whack a coat of that on, and then tomorrow I'll flip it over and do the other side, and then we'll start on the other half of this machine. Right, so next day we're just about to flip this over and paint the other side. Before I do that, I'll quickly hone out these pin holes. Just got a brake honer here which goes down small enough for what we're doing. And I'll just give that a bit of a quick hone out. Gets rid of a bit of that rust and things. Just gets rid of that rust, and that'll be nice for when the pin goes back in. So I'll do that all round, and I'll do the tine forks holes later. But we'll flip this over and get another coat of paint on the other side, and then we can start working on the other part. So here's the other half of this machine. Don't have to do much to this at all, thank goodness. All I'm going to do is knock off a bit of this rough scale here, and that's it, and give it a paint. Clean up all these fork tine holes, clean up all where the pins go, and give it a coat of paint. So that's pretty straightforward, this one. Give the rams a quick clean as well, and got a bit of rust off, and then give them a quick spray. Alright, so I finished painting all the framework side of things. What I'm going to do quickly now, before I machine up the the pins, I want to get a coat of paint on these and straighten a few of them out. So these are the crank tines, as you can see, they've got a crank in them. I've just lined them up quickly. These four here look like they're pretty much standard, that's how they're supposed to be bent. This one here, you can see is coming up a bit, so if I line that up, the tip's up higher. Same with this one, if I lift that up, it's going to be heaps low. That one's been pretty bad. These are the so-called straight tines. That one's got a bit of a curve in it. That one's got a real bend in it. So the only thing is with these, because I don't have an extra 2 cranks for the bottom, that one being bent, it's actually working in my advantage. So when that's actually lined up straight here in the head of the frame, the tip of it is very close to being in line with the cranked one. So what I might do is bend this one, if I can bend it very carefully on the press, bend it the same as that, and I'll put these on the outside, and then the tips will line up, because really all we're doing is scraping the ground, picking up sticks and things, so it won't really matter if that's not lined up perfectly there. So, or I'll just buy a couple of cranks, but they're a bit tricky to get hold of at the moment. So anyway, and then these are the curved hooked ones. I'll check them out, make sure they're all roughly the same curvature, and if they're not, I'll put them in the press. But got to be a bit careful in the press. I think this is high tensile steel, as in You got to be careful that it doesn't shatter. So we'll go a little bit easy and just see if it will bend at all. But obviously someone's bent it when it was in the machine, so they do bend. All right, we'll see how we get on. All right, so we'll try and straighten this a bit very carefully. We've got 5 tonne of pressure on it at the moment. We'll just stand to the side in case it decides to let go or shatter. So what's that? 5, 6, 7 tonne. Just go to 8 and have a bit of a quick look, see how much it springs back. I'm expecting it to spring back a lot. Right, let's see what that's like compared to the others. As you can see there, that's the one I just did. That's lined it up nicely. That's brought that back pretty well straight. So this one here's got a massive bend in it. We'll try and get that out. So this one I need to bend slightly here to lift the tip up. So it's actually got enough reach. So we'll get out of the road in a minute so you can see our pressure gauge here. I'm not sure how accurate that is. So there's 5 tonne there. Let's step out of the road in case something goes bang. Just a little bit at a time. So that's 8.5 tonne from the gate. I'll just do a little bit, back it off, because it'll spring back. We'll just whack that in and see if that makes a difference. Yeah, so that needs a little bit more. I'm actually surprised how easily these are bending. We'll give that a little bit more. There we go. Back up to where we were. So we'll go 10. That's 10 tonne. Back it off. We'll just check that one and see how close that is. No, still needs more. Got a fair old bending in this one. Back it off there. So you can see here we're just trying to get the same profile. This one here is a good one, and that one there needs a slight more bend in it. So I'll just give that a few more good cranks. About as much as I'm game to do it, I think. So that is very close. I think we'll call that fixed. I'm not sure how much pressure to put on these before they shatter or break. So I've got these a lot better lined up now, much as I'm game. This one here is one of the worst ones. So I've got him pretty well straight now. Oop, and that's a fair bit of pressure on that, as much as I'm game, so we're going to call that fixed. So I've straightened these out the best I can. They're a lot more accurate to each other than they were. The couple of straight tines here, one that was bent, I've actually made them the same now. So when you line these up to the other end here, like where the joining point is, the tips are very close together. So we'll put these two on the outside. And again, if they're a problem, I'll just order a couple of crank tines. But for the hammering this thing's going to get, I don't think it's going to be worth it. I just tweaked a couple of these curved hook tines. So that's pretty much that. All I'm going to do now is give them a very, very quick clean up, mainly around the ends here where they go into the taper. And give them a coat of paint, which is probably a waste of time because these will get taken off pretty quick anyway, but it'll just make it look pretty. So I'll get into that, and we're nearly done. I've just got to do the pins then. Alright, so while that paint's drying, we'll clean up these pins. Try to get them locally. They're not on the shelf that I can find anyway, so I might just stick them in the lathe, polish them up a bit with some wet and dry paper. I'll take the grease nipples out, and there's a hole, obviously there's a hole drilled through here. I'm guessing where that groove is, there should be, I actually reckon it's there, should be a hole where the grease comes out. I'm thinking that might be that hole there, it's a bit hard to see. So we'll drill all these out, make sure the grease comes back through, polish them up. You can see where I flogged that with a persuader. I'll machine that back flat. So these pins will go in both ways and the bolt just holds them in the location they're supposed to be. So I'll do that. A couple of these have been flogged out pretty hard. That one there's not too bad. The bigger pins here are in better nick again. So we'll just polish them up. And look, if I need to replace them at some point, I'll order them and they'll come out really easily once they've had some grease. So. Right, this is the main hinge pin. There's two of these. Taking the grease nipple out of the end, giving this a quick clean up with some sandpaper and a file, a bit of wet and dry. You can see I've taken out the grease nipple out the end, so that shaft there goes all the way down. So there's quite a bit of grease in the centre. The reason it's not coming out, this is the exit hole here, and you can see she's just crossed it over. So a bit of dry grease there is why it wouldn't come out. And the same thing with this, I might actually drill that hole straight through. So we'll have two outlets. If one of these blocks, the other one might get a bit of grease through. So I'll drill them through and do the same with the other one. Okay, so I've drilled a hole right through this time. Both sides, put a countersink on so any grease comes out can ooze out that way. I have machined out the end of this a bit wider so my grease gun nozzle can actually fit in there. It was too tight before. So all we do now is I juggle a few things. Whack the grease nipple in. Like so, get your favourite grease gun. So that'll snap on the end there now, I think. And then we give it a few pumps of grease. As you can see, that's going to come out both sides now. So that'll be able to lube that pin up, and we shouldn't have any dramas, hopefully. Right, time to start putting this together. I'll put the tines in at the bottom first so the thing stands up on its own. Whack a heap of grease on these. Alright, we'll tighten them up and see what they look like. I might have to swap a few around. Alright, just got to put this bolt through now. Just whack a bit of grease on there. Go through there, nice. Help if I get the right size ring spanner, I think. Okay, I think that actually was the right size. It's just that's pretty worn. So all that does is stop that big pin coming out. So that is pretty much that. And just do the same on the other side. I'll give that a quick grease while I'm in it. Beautiful. Time to put this hydraulic together. Just drowned it in grease, greased all the pinholes. So it's just a matter of lining that up now. Hopefully that will go in. Try not to get grease everywhere. So that's going in, no worries at all. Just got a matter of lining this up properly. Get a bit of grease on the bolt. You can change these bolts if they break or worn out. These ones have still got a bit of life in them left. Right. Nut on the bottom, try not to get grease everywhere. Snug that up and that is done. So we'll pump some grease into that in a minute as well. So we'll go around and do all 4 of those, put the hydraulics on. Righto, so again just grease everything to 1 inch of its life. Pull this ram back, hopefully, yep. I may have to, oh, I think that's maxed out, yeah. I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit to get that pin in, because nothing's ever easy. Alright, so same again, we'll just grease up that bolt, put that on, do the same the other side. I've got grease everywhere. Okay, so we've hooked all our hydraulics up, and now I'm just going to quickly plug it into the Kanga, make sure everything works. Then I'll get some plastic armour wrapped around it and we'll head out to the farm soon. Well, that didn't go as planned. Well, that was very professional. Alright, let's try that again. This time we'll put a bit of weight on it. Right, I greased up these bent tines, so we'll get them in there. Right, we'll get a bit of grease into these and then we are done. So you can see it's coming out all around, so that's great. Alright, we'll grease them up and we'll head out to the farm in a minute. Alright, I'll try and hook it on here. I'll get the forks and lift it off if I can't get it hooked up. Watch out, nipper dog, you get run over. Me? Right, time to hook the hydraulics up. I don't know if they plumb the right way around or not. This tractor's never had anything on the 4-in-1, so we'll see what happens. So if opens shut and shuts open, we might have to swap these around yet. Right, well they're on. Just see which way they operate, if they operate. Well, they don't work. They're trying to, but I might have to read the book and find out whether I've got an isolator or something on with those hydraulics. Alright, well after reading the book, we've worked it out. Alright, so basically this is our control lever for the loader. So we've got our tilt or crowd, whatever you want to call it, up and down. So basically to get this thing to operate, which I worked out, we've got 3 buttons here. Never used any of these, obviously we've never had equipment to fit on there. So anyway, what you got to do is either A or B, doesn't matter. I thought A was open and B was closed, but it's actually hold down A or B, doesn't matter. Hold a button down, pull it over to the left, it'll close it, pull it to the right, open it up. So that's the go. You just got to keep your button down and go side to side. So you can't actually do 2 things at once, but I can live with that. Alright, so I don't really have much to test this machine out with at the moment. I've got a bit of netting over here which I need to load on the ute and take to the dump. So it's a bit of an overkill, but I'll grab that. Got to be really careful because we've just literally planted out this whole area here. I've fenced it all with the new post driver, and this is like a quarry section of the farm which is a bit rocky, so we can't do much else with it. So I've put a woodlot in here and some shade for the cattle. So I've got to be really careful where I'm driving because I've just planted these little sugar gums, and we've got our other gums here, spotted gums. I've lost a couple already, something's eaten them off, but so I don't want to be driving over them either, so they're really hard to see. Another one there, another one there. So anyway, I'll straddle them with the tractor. There's another one there, so I'll straddle them with the tractor there, and we'll just try and pick that up. And I've got to be careful from the other side here. I've got some blackwood trees here, and on the other side of this netting, there's another blackwood there. So I just got to grab this quickly without killing a heap of trees. And then yeah, I don't really have any limbs to try this machine out with, but we'll try and find something anyway. Really hard to see these trees at the moment. I'm just trying not to run any over. There's one behind me somewhere. I'll straddle that. Missus will kill me if I run. Alright, so that's straddled a couple. Righto, so I'm a bit rusty at this. Open that up a bit. Tip that down. That was the wrong way to start with. Sneak in here. Drop that down there without destroying anything. Oh, wrong button again. Just takes some getting used to. Hopefully I haven't crushed that tree the other side. Righto. Let's get out of here before it runs up and over. So there's a tree underneath us there. Where's he gone? Can't see a thing. Oh, there he is. Right, so swing it that way. Got a bit of a path up the middle of this tree lot, so if I just reverse the whole way out now, it should be pretty right. So you can see the little trees that we planted all in rows there. A bit hard to see when you're up close though. So that's where our netting was. That tree there's survived. And the ones I run over are still there. More evidence for the missus, so she didn't tell me off. Very good. Alright, and I've got a bit of a track, which is really hard to see down that way. So I'll just back it straight back. And we're out of here. Dog's probably killed more than anyone laying on them. So I've lost about 4 trees already. Not exactly sure whether it's the wind snapping the tops of them off or rabbit or a hare's got in there and nipped them off. I'm not sure. So if I lose a few more, I'll have to come out here and sort a few out. Come on! It's probably running over trees as we speak. Good boy. Alright. So getting used to how to use it. So normally you just get your pallet forks, hay forks I should say, which are only 2 tines, and scoop this up, and then you find half it all falls off when you're trying to pick it up. So the idea of this is basically that should come round on the top, crunch it up a bit, and when we lift it up, when we lift it up, when we lift it up. Oh yeah, probably broken already, have I? I don't know. Have another go at that. It's a little bit rough. Righto. Just give it a nudge against this stump here. Got to go a bit easy on it, it's not really designed for this, but anyway, so hold the button down, and again I'm going the wrong way. Grab that. There we go, so it stops it all falling off anyway. Oh, watch out, nipper dog, we run over. Not exactly sure how this is going to work, whether you drag it back as a bit of a stick rake this way. Put those front tines on the ground a little bit without ripping them off. And just sneak back gently. Actually, it might be easier. What am I doing? It might be easier to close it up quickly. We use the back tines maybe. Something like that. Drag it back this way maybe. I don't know. Just been on the excavator the other day. Far out, I'm struggling with this now. Like that. Probably not a very good example. I could have picked that up with the wheelbarrow just as quick, but anyway. Well, that smooth operator. Not. Oh, the camera fell over. Alright, so that's the general idea anyway. It seems to be working okay. Once we get a few big trees blown down, we'll be able to give this a bit of a workout. So open that up, dump that as you'd normally do, and we're out of here. Alright, that's it. She's all finished. When we get a few bigger trees down, we'll give it a bit of a workout. Hopefully it'll save us a bit of time. Again, appreciate watching. Thanks again. You know the drill. Hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. That'll help us out. And I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.